Hey, Warrior Saints. Glad to have you beautiful people with us as we continue our conversation from yesterday.
Once we ask, can we? If we don't ask, should we? Then we're going to go down the Adam path.
Right.
And then that path leads to this idea that we can do whatever we want, whenever we want, however we want it. Like this idea that we can have it all. This idea that we can, you do you, boo-boo, and all the stuff that we talk about all the time. It's this idea that we can have it all. One of the things that really struck me in there was an Economic Times article about this whole thing, and one of the things that really struck me in that article, I'm gonna throw a screenshot of it up on the screen, was this idea, and this is where this kind of the can we have it all idea came from my mind. It said the humanoid robot incorporates an artificial womb embedded in its abdomen designed to carry a fetus through gestation and deliver a baby. The technology aims to provide pregnancy alternatives for individuals seeking to avoid biological gestation burdens.
Wait, what?
Yeah, biological gestation burdens. So, I mean, like this is some weird idea that we're going to have whatever we want, whenever we want, however we want it. We want to have a kid, but we don't want to have to go through the process of having a kid.
Yeah.
We want to have a kid, but we don't want to have to go through all the stuff that goes with it.
Morning
the nausea,
sickness.
the
stretch marks,
fatigue, the ultrasounds, the doctor's appointments, like all of it. And then the actual process of giving birth, whether C-section or whatever. Like we want to avoid all of that stuff. And in our avoidance of all of that, in our asking the question of, can I have it all? Like, I think there's something missing when that happens. I don't know. What do you see?
No, I agree. I mean, that's, there's music about that kind of stuff. I want it all.
Or nothing.
And I want it now.
Oh, there's that too.
It's in your head now, isn't it? It's in my head.
Yeah, but I was going the other direction. I want it all or nothing at all. No.
That's not where I went. But that's good.
I went to a different one with I want it. Anyway, go on.
Well, okay, coming back to it. I mean, you're absolutely right. I was joking about nausea, morning sickness, stretch marks, all that kind of stuff. But something you said about it popped in my head too. Like we're soft. Everybody in this world is so soft. We were with somebody a few nights ago. You and I were talking about it, right? Well, you were with us. We were at dinner and they were talking about how, the levels of schools in our state, there's 1A, 2A, 3A, and all the way up to 6A. And, some athletes in the bigger schools are better than the other ones, at the lower schools and so on. And I forget how it all went, but the conversation basically said that, that some of these kids aren't tough and so on. And I mean, think about that statement about avoiding pregnancy discomfort or whatever it's gestational burdens.
Yeah.
Let's make it easy. Look, I was present at the birth of both my children and there watching and all that. And I mean, beautiful, amazing, like, holy cow, I watched a person come out of a person, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't participate in it other than being there, holding her hand and, just madly in love with her and these girls. But she did all the work, and it did not look like it was fun and easy work, right? It was, it's work.
It's work.
And carrying those children, like you said, morning sickness and nausea, whatever it is, the cravings, the fatigue, they're always hungry for, like my wife wanted weird things, like she was craving certain, all this stuff. And but it avoids all that struggle. And for me, that rant and rambling is a problem because it's struggle. Like lions are born in the fire, man.
Yeah.
That's what I think. And so if you try to take away too much fire, where are the lions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Kierkegaard said that. I think it was Kierkegaard and I'll turn it back to you after this, but he said, I think I'm going to paraphrase it and get it hopefully as close I can, but something to the effect that the only struggle that mankind will have in the future is that we have no struggle.
Yeah.
And so however long ago, I think Kierkegaard was like the 1800s. I mean, he saw this kind of stuff coming. Anyways, look, I'll stop with it. I watched my wife carry and give birth to those kids, and she's ferocious.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to meet my wife alone in a dark alley. She's tough. I mean, she's fought through things, and she's a lion. Anyways.
But it goes back to Christ in the garden in a lot of ways. You said that, that lions are born in the struggle. The struggle is what produces us. If Christ didn't have that moment in the garden and didn't then show us an alternative to the avoidance of the struggle by saying, nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt, and show us the way through being that following of God's commandments, following the will of God, living crucifixionally, then we never would have seen that the struggle is where we are forged. The
Yeah.
struggle is the way that we are
Yeah.
fought through.
Yeah.
And this idea, this can I have it all? This idea of wanting to avoid the pregnancy. I mean, it's bizarre to me. There was a YouTube video about the topic of those robots that went down the rabbit hole of, he said the line, reproductive freedom, which will basically potentially liberating women from the burden of having to carry babies anymore. And I'm like, that's bizarre, because everything that I was taught growing up is that one of the most beautiful things that women can do is to have children.
Yeah.
And so this idea that we now are trying to liberate from that is going so far down this rabbit hole of I can have everything I want, however I want it. And then having a kid just becomes another piece in that puzzle. Really just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know what it is. It's to me, I'm struggling with that idea that there's something to be lauded in the idea that we're going to still be able to have a kid, but avoid the beauty of the process of having a kid.
Yeah. Look, that leads maybe to our next topic, that we can eyeball down the road about the family and husbands, wives, marriage, all that kind of stuff. But to your question at this point, I mean, I know you were talking about, you said it earlier, you may have said it or wrote it, whatever it was in our notes, but, to avoid pregnancy and being a girl boss, like,
Well, that's the idea of having it all, right?
Right.
Like you can't have a kid and still be successful at work and still be doing all of these things.
right.
That's a lie.
Yeah.
Right? Like my aunt is a phenomenal human being. And she got married later in life, but then they had two beautiful children, my beautiful cousins, and she started at her company right out of college as an entry-level position, worked her way all the way up to where she was a VP, was in charge of HR, but was the VP of this company, even owning a stake in that company. And she still made it all work.
Yeah.
Right. And her husband played a huge role in that. My uncle's equally awesome, but and she gets so upset when she hears this idea that she's not able to have a family because if she wants to have a career, she has to have one or the other. And she got put down in the business world in some ways because she was trying to, was having a family and doing all of that stuff, and then got put down and looked at as though she was less than as a mother for having both. And this whole idea to me is like you are pushing an agenda that is taking the idea of motherhood and minimizing it to something that could then be synthetically done by a robot. And to your point that as we go down a different rabbit hole, that's not what motherhood is.
Yeah.
Motherhood is not just
It's a beautiful thing.
having pushing out something.
Yeah.
It's so much more than that.
Yeah. I mean, your aunt, whom I also know and think is amazing, shows us, but that it can be done. But the prevailing attitude, or at least one that's out there, and some people have a hard time with it, is that they're avoiding pregnancy because, it's it will get in the way of me being a girl boss.
Right.
And which, look, I've got two daughters and I'm raising them to be monsters, right? I want them to go out and conquer the world and just, get it. And they're amazing, ridiculously amazing human beings. They may choose to marry and raise families, but I'm giving them and equipping them with all the skills that I can give them, just so that wherever their life takes them. The problem I think with this whole one or other I either am a mother or I am a girl boss type of thing and have a life. It's led to, and this was one of those other, ancillary conversations that this whole robot thing created was population decline. And I think it
Right.
was particularly in China is where they were focusing,
Yeah.
which we were giggling about because for years China has said,
They've limited population.
they've limited population, one kid per family, and now all of a sudden look where it got them. Which goes back to what you were saying earlier about putting yourself in the position of God.
Yeah.
We even have. There are two beautiful young women in our extended community who were adopted from China by a lady because of the population control and all that kind of stuff. And now they're like, dude, we ain't got enough people, which I don't know if that's actually the case, but like, let's make these robots so we can have some more babies, like that in and of itself, that whole idea of, population control one way or the other, more or less, seems to me kind of synthetic over family.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Did I even say that? Like, is that a valid statement?
I think what we're trying to do as a society and where we've come as a society is family just becomes a box that we're ticking off. And as we're trying to tick off this box, like we need to keep finding different ways to make it all work in our attempts to do everything. And we synthesize the parts that we can't do on our own. And
What do you mean by that? So, like, that's interesting. At least I don't know if I understand what you mean.
what I mean by that is this synthetic way of having children is synthetic of maybe not synthesize.
Yeah, no, it's
but it's a synthetic way to replicate a natural process
Right.
because the natural process doesn't fit in my plan.
yeah,
So I need to find a better way to make the natural process work so that it fits with me
yeah,
and fits my timeline
yeah.
and my schedule and my desires and my needs and me.
Absolutely, Adam. I mean, that's what you're saying. Absolutely. And look, I think that mentality has been peddled by certain powers that be, if you will, that goes against the grain of what the natural, the natural desire of many women and men, and the value of family. And hey, Warrior Saints, thank you so much for being with us. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, and share. It helps us get the word out there. And if you want more, visit us at warriorsaints.org and subscribe to Understanding the Bible. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.